My fiancé called me a pathetic control freak after I refused to invite his ex to our wedding. James came home from his party last Saturday night very drunk. He started saying his friends think I'm crazy and bossy. I said, "What are you talking about?" Then he laughed and told me his friends voted on if he should break up with me before the wedding. They actually voted, like I'm something they can decide on in their group chat. This all started because his friend Tommy asked why Victoria wasn't coming to our wedding. You know Victoria, his old girlfriend from college. They dated for 3 years. She still puts heart and eye emojis on all his Instagram posts. Yes, that Victoria. The one who comes to every group hangout even though they broke up 2 years ago. She acts like she's still part of their friend group. At first, James said it was normal not to invite ex-girlfriends to weddings. But then Tommy said Victoria is like family to them and I'm being difficult. And James didn't stop them. He just sat there while they all talked about my bad points, like I'm something they need to fix. After they drank a lot of beer, they started really talking about if James should cancel the wedding. They said I'm too jealous and don't feel good about myself. Tommy even found an article on his phone about bad signs in relationships. He read it out loud and said I matched many of the bad signs. The other guys joined in with their advice. They said their girlfriends never act like me and I need to be more relaxed. And my fiancé, the man I'm supposed to marry in 6 weeks, just let them talk about me. He didn't stand up for me, he didn't tell them to stop, he didn't even leave. He just sat there drinking beer and nodding while his friends picked apart our relationship. The vote was close. 4 guys said he should break up with me. 3 said he should stay with me, but I should say sorry to Victoria first. Only 2 guys said I had the right to not invite her. Just 2 out of 9 guys thought it was okay to not want his ex at our wedding. When James told me this, he was laughing like it was a funny joke, like it's normal that his friends think he should leave me. He said I should be happy that his friends care enough to give him advice. He said I should think about what they said because they know him well. I asked him straight out what he said when they voted. He got defensive and said he tried to explain my side, but he said I need to understand how it looks to other people, like I should welcome his ex-girlfriend to our wedding with open arms. The worst part is this isn't the first time Victoria has caused problems. She texts him all the time about random things. I saw this funny picture that made me think of you. Remember when we went to that restaurant? My car is broken. Do you know a good mechanic? Every time I mention it, James says I'm being too worried and jealous. He says she's just being nice and I should trust him. But here's the truth. I trust James. I don't trust Victoria. And I definitely don't like that she always finds reasons to stay in touch with him. When we got engaged, she was one of the first to comment on our post. She said she was so happy for us and couldn't wait to celebrate. How could she do that? So now I'm supposed to be okay that all his friends think I'm a bossy, mean lady who is not good enough for him? And my own fiancé let them vote on our relationship like they get to decide. I spent all Sunday trying to think about this, and honestly, I feel sad. And then I feel very, very mad. Part of me wants to cancel the wedding myself. I just want to see the look on their faces when their special Victoria doesn't get an invite. But most of me is wondering what else James lets his friends say about me when I'm not there. We have to meet our wedding planner tomorrow to finish the seating plan. I don't know how I can sit there and pretend everything is okay when I know his friends think he should break up with me. The wedding is in 6 weeks. We paid for everything. The place, the food, my dress, all of it. I haven't told anyone about this because I feel ashamed. How do you tell your family that your fiancé's party turned into a vote on if you are good enough to marry him? My sister Carly already thinks something is wrong. She thinks James is too close to his friends. If I tell her this, she will get very, very angry. The truth is, I know I'm not wrong about Victoria. All my married friends say it's normal to not invite ex-girlfriends. My cousin didn't invite her husband's ex. My friend at work didn't invite her husband's ex. Even my mom didn't invite any of my dad's exes to their wedding. This isn't about being jealous. It's just a smart thing to do. It's about respecting rules. But James keeps making me feel like I'm the one who is crazy. Like I should be a relaxed girl who is okay with his ex at our wedding. Okay with her texting him anytime, okay with her getting into every part of our relationship. And now his friends agree with him. They make me feel like something is wrong with me for having normal rules. I keep thinking about what they said about me that James didn't tell me. If he told me about the vote, what else did he keep secret? Did they talk about how I look, how I act? Did they talk about other things I did that they think are bad signs? All of this makes me question everything about our relationship. If James really thought I was wrong, why didn't he just talk to me about it alone? Why did he let his friends talk about it at his party? And if he thinks his friends are right, why is he still going to marry me? I need help because I don't know what to do. Do I talk to his friends? Do I make James stand up for me? Do I pretend this never happened? Or do I think about if I want to marry a man who lets his friends vote on if I'm good enough for him? The wedding is very soon, and everything is planned, but I'm starting to think I'm making a big mistake. How can I walk to him at the wedding when I know half his friends think he should break up with me? First update. Thank you to everyone who said I wasn't crazy about the Victoria thing. Reading what you wrote made me see how bad this is. Someone said his friends held a meeting to decide if I was good enough. That is exactly what happened. So, we met our wedding planner at her office near our home. James acted like everything was fine. He talked about flowers for the tables and if we wanted fish or chicken to eat. I sat there trying to listen, but all I could think about was how his friends think he should break up with me. Finally, I couldn't take it. I told our planner, Rachel, that we needed to be alone for a minute. When she left, I started talking about how I couldn't stop thinking about what he said. James said right away that I was making it a bigger deal than it is. He said guys just say mean things when they drink and I shouldn't be so serious. But here is where it gets really bad. I asked him for more details about what they said about me. He then said that Tommy has been talking about this for months. Every time we are with the group, Tommy tells the other guys that I'm too serious. He says James was more fun before he was with me. And James just sat there listening to this for months. He never told me. He never made Tommy stop. I asked him why he didn't tell me his best friend was saying bad things about me. James got mad at me. He said I was making him choose between his friends and me. He said Tommy has been his friend since college. He said he can't just stop being friends with Tommy because Tommy doesn't like everything about me. We started to fight. James finally said that maybe some of what Tommy says is true. He said he sees that I get jealous when we talk about Victoria. He said maybe I should try to understand their friendship better. He actually told me I should talk to Victoria. He said I should try to be her friend. Then his friends would see I'm not the bossy person they think I am. I could not believe what I was hearing. My own fiancé was telling me his friends might be right. That I am jealous and bossy? We have been together for 3 years. He asked me to marry him. We planned this whole wedding. And now he thinks they might be right about me? I told him that if he thinks his friends are right, then maybe we should not get married. And he didn't say, "No, I love you." He was quiet for a long time, like he was really thinking about it. Then he said he loves me, but he is worried about how his friends feel. He said these friends will be in our lives forever. Our wedding planner knocked on the door. She asked if we were okay because we were in there for 30 minutes. James just smiled and said we were fine. He asked if we could meet another time. On the whole ride home, we didn't say one word. I knew he was thinking about what his friend said. That night at home, James tried to make things better. He said he didn't want to make me feel bad, but then he talked about Victoria again. He said if I just gave her a chance, if I tried to be her friend, his friends would see. They would see I'm not scared of her. They would see I trust him. He kept saying she is very nice if you get to know her. He said she is not trying to cause problems for us. But then he said something that really upset me. He said Victoria has been asking him about our wedding plans. Not just simple questions, she asked for details. Like, where is the wedding? When is it? Can she still get an invite? James told her I was making the guest list. He said she probably couldn't come. But he said it like he was sorry she couldn't be there. I asked him why Victoria would think she could get an invite. He got uncomfortable. He said maybe he wasn't clear with her about the rules. It turns out he has been talking to her about our wedding plans. He has been talking to her about our problems. He told her I don't want her at the wedding, so she knows I'm the reason she is not invited. She has been trying to get around me by talking to James about it. All this time, I thought Victoria was just being wrong by talking to my fiancé. But it turns out James has been telling her private things about us, about our wedding. He has been making me look like the bad guy, the one who won't let her come. He didn't just tell her it's not okay for an ex to be at a wedding. When I told him this was wrong, James said he was just being honest with her. He said she has been in his friend group for a long time. He said it would be weird to suddenly hide things from her when she asks. But I told him there is a difference. There is a difference between hiding things and sharing private details about our relationship and wedding with his ex-girlfriend. The fight continued the next day. James said we should all meet at the sports bar near his work. Him, me, Victoria, and maybe some other friends. He said this way I could see for myself that Victoria is not trying to cause trouble. He thought if I spent time with her, I would see she is harmless. His friends would see I'm not jealous or bossy. I told him absolutely no. I was not going to be in a weird situation. I didn't want to have to prove to his ex and his friends that I'm good enough for him. The fact that he even said this showed me his thinking is all wrong. But James kept pushing. He said if I really trusted him, I would spend time with Victoria. He said that me not wanting to meet her just proved his friend's point. That I'm not sure of myself and that I'm bossy. He made it sound like the grown-up thing to do was to sit with his ex and talk about things like adults. I tried to explain, this is not about trust. It's not about being scared. It's about having good rules in our relationship. But he kept talking about what his friends think. He kept talking about how it looks to other people. He said everyone in their friend group is confused. They don't know why I won't try to get along with Victoria. He said it makes everyone feel stressed. This whole talk made me see something. James cares more about what his friends think than how I feel. He is more worried about looking like a guy whose fiancé won't let him be friends with his ex. He is not worried that his friends think he should break up with me. Thursday afternoon, I was at Target getting things for work. I saw Mila, a woman who works with James. We met a few times at work parties. She is always very nice. She was in the medicine part of the store getting something for her allergies. We talked while we waited in line. She said she heard about our wedding. She said it must be exciting. But then she looked at me in a weird way. She asked if everything was okay. I asked what she meant. She said James seemed very stressed lately. He had been talking to the men at work about our relationship. My stomach felt sick. I realized James has been talking about our problems at work too, not just with his friends. Mila said she didn't want to get in the middle, but she heard James talking to a man named Earl. James asked if it's normal for a fiancé to be jealous of her man's female friends. She said it sounded like he was asking for advice. He wanted to know how to handle a person who was being difficult about rules. I couldn't believe it. He was making me sound like the problem to his coworkers too. Mila could see I was upset. She said she probably shouldn't have told me, but then she said Earl told James something. Earl said some women can't handle it when their man has female friends. He said James needed to be more strict about telling me what to expect. So now I find out something new. His college friends talked about if he should break up with me, and his coworkers think I'm a jealous girlfriend. They think I can't handle him having female friends. James has been telling everyone that I'm a person who is not sure of myself and is bossy, and I had no idea. When I got home, I told James I knew he talked to his coworkers about us. He tried to make it sound small. He said he was just letting out stress about the wedding. He said he was just asking for advice. But I told him something. Asking if it's normal for a fiancé to be jealous is not the same as talking about wedding plans. He was making me sound like the problem. He was asking other people to agree that I was being difficult. James said I talked to my friends about our relationship, so why can't he talk to his? But I explained there is a difference. There is a difference between talking about problems with close friends and telling a one-sided story to coworkers. When I talk to my sister Carly or my close friends, I want real advice. I want to see things in a new way. James just wants people to agree with him that I'm being difficult. The fight got bigger. James said I was being paranoid. He said maybe his friends and coworkers see something about me that I can't see. He said when many people tell you the same thing, maybe you should think they have a point. Maybe you shouldn't just think everyone else is wrong. I couldn't believe he was saying this. He wanted me to take advice from Earl and Tommy. Tommy still acts like he's in a college club. But James kept saying that what other people think is important. He said I'm too close to the problem to see it clearly. He said maybe I should think that my rules aren't as good as I think they are. Friday morning, I had to leave early for work. I was getting my keys from the kitchen. I saw James's phone was plugged in. A text message lit up the screen. I wasn't trying to snoop, but I saw Victoria's name. The message said something about wedding planning. I didn't even think. I picked up his phone to see what she wrote. The message asked if James talked to me about changing the guest list. It asked if there was a chance I would change my mind and invite her. but I scrolled up to see the rest of their talk. I found weeks of messages between them. I never knew they were talking. Victoria has been texting James all the time about many things. Problems at work, problems with her family, memories from college. But mixed in with the normal talk were messages about our relationship and our wedding. She kept asking how the wedding planning was going. She asked if I was being difficult about anything. James would write back and complain. He said I made him stressed with all my ideas and all the things I expect. In one talk from a few weeks ago, Victoria was feeling bad for James. She said it must be hard to plan a wedding with someone who has such strong ideas about everything. James wrote back. He said sometimes he wondered if he and Victoria would have had an easier time together. He said she was always so relaxed about things. Victoria wrote back with crying and laughing faces. She said some people are just more difficult than others. They were talking about me like I was a big problem for James, and Victoria was encouraging it. She was making herself look like the cool, relaxed girl, the girl who would never cause problems like I do. But the worst part was finding messages where James told Victoria details about our fights. He told her about the time I got mad because she liked all his Instagram posts. Victoria wrote back. She said she didn't even know she was doing it. She said she would be more careful. James told her she didn't need to change. He said I was just being too sensitive. There were messages about our fights over the guest list, messages about us not agreeing on the wedding money. James was sharing private details about our relationship with his ex-girlfriend, and she was writing back with advice and her thoughts, like she was some kind of relationship expert. When James got home from work Friday night, I didn't let him make excuses. I just started reading the messages out loud. I watched his face as he realized he was in big trouble. He tried to explain. He said he and Victoria have always been able to talk about anything. He said he values her ideas because she knows him so well. He said he wasn't trying to break my trust. He was just talking about his feelings with someone who understands him. But I told him something. Talking about your feelings about your relationship with your ex-girlfriend is not normal. It's not okay when you are engaged to someone else. James got frustrated. He said I was making this a bigger deal than it is. He said Victoria was just being a good friend. She was helping him through a stressful time. But I read him the message where she said some people are just more difficult. I asked him how that was helping our relationship. He couldn't answer. So instead, he got mad at me for looking at his phone. He said I broke his privacy. He said if I trusted him, I wouldn't need to check his messages. He said my snooping just proved his friend's point, that I'm bossy and not sure of myself. I told him that finding out my fiancé shares private details about our relationship with his ex is not about trust. It's not about being scared. It's about basic respect. It's about having good rules. But James kept trying to turn it back on me. He said good relationships need trust. He said I was looking for problems that weren't there. My sister Carly called me Thursday night. She was just checking on wedding things. I ended up telling her everything. She was so angry. She said she has been worried about James' friends from the start. They all still act like they are in college. She said it's weird for men in their late 20s to care so much about each other's relationships. She said good friend groups don't vote on if someone should break up with their partner. Carly also said something that I kept thinking about. She asked why James needs his friends to say it's okay to marry me. If he loves me and wants to be with me, why does it matter what Tommy or anyone thinks? The fact that he cares so much about what they think means maybe he is not as sure about our relationship as he says he is. But when I told her about the messages with Victoria, Carly got extremely angry. She said James is basically having a secret love affair in his mind. He is using Victoria to talk about all his relationship problems. He doesn't work through them with me. She said going to your ex for advice about your current relationship is the definition of wrong. She said Victoria is clearly encouraging the drama. She likes being the one who understands. Carly said I needed to really think about if I want to marry someone who talks about our private life with his ex, someone who lets his friends vote on if I'm good enough for him. She said this kind of bad behavior doesn't get better after you get married. It gets worse, because then he will feel like he owns the relationship even more. Saturday morning, James tried to make things better. He suggested we take a day trip to the outlet mall. It was about an hour away. He said we could look for last-minute wedding things. I think he hoped that if we spent time together outside our home, things would go back to normal. But I was still very angry about everything I found out. While we walked in the mall, James kept trying to talk about wedding details. He acted like nothing happened. He wanted to talk about getting better flowers. He wanted to talk if we had enough people saying yes to the invite.
But I kept thinking about how he complained to Victoria about my ideas and expectations. I kept thinking about how his friends think he should break up with me. When we stopped at the food court to eat, James finally talked about the big problem. He said maybe we should talk to his friends together. He said this way I could see for myself that they don't dislike me. He suggested having everyone over for dinner. He said I could show them I'm not the bossy person they think I am. I told him I was not going to try out for his friends' approval. The fact that he thought I should prove myself to them showed me his priorities are all wrong. But James kept saying it would help make things better. He said once they got to know me better, they would see their worries were not real. We started to fight right there in the middle of the food court. James said I was being stubborn. I said I shouldn't have to fight for my own fiancé's friends to think I'm good enough for him. Some teenagers at the next table were clearly listening to us argue. I felt so embarrassed that we were having this talk in public. But James didn't care that we were making a scene. He kept pushing his point. He said his friends' opinions are very important to him. He needs them to feel good about our relationship. He said if I really loved him, I would try to build relationships with the people who are important to him, even if it made me feel bad.
I'm supposed to meet my mom this weekend. We need to talk about the final details for the bridal shower. But now I don't know what to tell her. How do you explain that your fiancé's friends think he should break up with you, and that he doesn't completely disagree with them? How do you admit that your fiancé has been talking about our private relationship with his ex-girlfriend? How do you admit he asked his coworkers for advice on how to handle your difficult behavior? The wedding is 5 weeks away. I feel like I don't even know the person I am supposed to marry. The man I fell in love with would never let his friends vote on our relationship. He would never share private details about our fights with his ex. But it seems like that man never existed, or James has changed into a completely different person. I keep going back and forth. I feel hurt, then I feel extremely angry. Part of me wants to cancel the wedding. I just want to see how his special friends react when their vote doesn't matter anymore. But the bigger part of me is starting to wonder if maybe they are right. Maybe James and I are not as good together as I thought. Second update. Well, things have gotten bigger in ways I never thought could happen, and I am honestly questioning everything about this man I thought I knew. First, thank you to everyone who told me to stand up for myself. The comments about how James is basically having a secret love affair in his mind with Victoria opened my eyes. I see how serious this is. And to the person who said his friends sound like a bad boys club, you were absolutely right. So Sunday, I was supposed to meet my mom at a small cafe near her house. We were going to talk about details for the bridal shower. My mom has been so excited about this wedding. She has been planning the shower for months. She had a whole list of games and things to decorate. She was talking about how proud she was that I found such a great man. I tried to focus on what she said about the food and the guest list, but all I could think about was James telling Victoria I'm difficult, and his friends voting on if he should break up with me. Finally, my mom stopped talking. She asked what was wrong because I was clearly not listening. I tried to say it was nothing. I said I was just stressed about wedding planning, but my mom knows me too well. She kept asking until I finally broke down and told her everything. The vote at the party, James sharing our private life with Victoria, the messages I found, all of it. My mom was furious. I have never seen her this angry in my whole life. She started yelling about how James has disrespected not just me, but our whole family. He let his friends talk about our relationship like that? She said a real man doesn't let his friends say bad things about his fiancé, and he certainly doesn't go crying to his ex-girlfriend about relationship problems. Then my mom said something that really hit me. She asked if I told my dad about any of this. I said no. She said I needed to tell him right away. She said my dad would be completely heartbroken to know James has been letting people disrespect his daughter this way. She said my dad deserves to know what kind of man he is about to welcome into our family. The thought of telling my dad this made me realize how humiliating this whole situation is. My parents have been so supportive of James. They have been so excited about the wedding. They have been bragging to their friends about their future son-in-law. They have been talking about how happy they are that I found someone who treats me well. How am I supposed to tell them that he has actually been letting his friends debate if I'm good enough for him? My mom canceled the rest of our shower planning. She said we needed to have a serious family talk. She called my dad and asked him to come meet us at the house. She said we needed to talk about something important. The whole drive there, I was scared to explain this mess to him. When we got to my parents' house, my dad was waiting in the living room. He had a worried look on his face. My mom sat next to him and told me to explain everything from the start. So I had to tell the whole story again. The vote, the messages with Victoria, everything. My dad got quiet in that scary way he does when he is really angry. He didn't interrupt or ask questions. He just sat there listening. His jaw got tighter and tighter. When I finished talking, he was quiet for a long time. Then he finally spoke. He said in 35 years of marriage, he has never once let his friends criticize my mom. He has never shared private details about their relationship with other women. He said protecting your partner from disrespect is one of the most important jobs in a relationship. He said James has failed at that in every way possible. Then my dad asked if James had ever said he was sorry for any of this. He asked if James was planning to stop talking to Victoria. He asked if he was going to set rules with his friends. I had to admit that James still thinks I'm overreacting. He still wants me to meet with Victoria to prove I'm not bossy. My dad looked like he wanted to punch something. My mom suggested maybe they should talk to James directly. I panicked because I could imagine how badly that would go. James would probably get defensive. He would make it sound like I was being dramatic. Then my parents would think even less of him. But my dad said that if James is going to be part of this family, he needs to understand something. Disrespecting me means disrespecting all of us. Monday morning, I had to go back to work. I was honestly grateful for the distraction. My coworker Natalie noticed I seemed not okay. She asked if everything was fine with the wedding planning. I didn't want to tell the whole story at work, but I ended up telling her about the bachelor party situation. Natalie was shocked. She said her husband's friends would never do something like that. She said that when you are in a serious relationship, your partner should defend you to their friends. They shouldn't let them vote on if you're good enough for him. But then Natalie said something that I kept thinking about. She asked if I saw any other bad signs in my relationship with James, signs I might have ignored. She said that usually when a man lets his friends disrespect his girlfriend, there are other signs of problems that get missed. I started to think about it. I realized there have been other times when James cared more about other people's opinions than my feelings, like when we were looking for an apartment. He kept wanting to ask Tommy what neighborhood we should choose, but Tommy doesn't even live in our city. Or when we were planning our engagement party, James kept changing the details because of what his friends suggested, even when I had already made decisions. I always just thought James was someone who values what other people think, but now I'm wondering if he is actually someone who doesn't trust his own judgment, or mine. Maybe the Victoria thing and the bachelor party vote are just part of a bigger problem. He looks to other people to tell him our relationship is okay. That afternoon, I got a text from James. He asked if we could meet at the park near our apartment to talk. He said he had been thinking about our talk over the weekend. He wanted to clear the air. I said yes because I was hoping he finally realized how bad his behavior has been. When I got to the park, James was sitting on a bench near the playground. He looked very serious. He started by saying he had been thinking a lot about himself. He understood why I was upset about the messages with Victoria. He said he could see how it would look wrong from my point of view. I thought maybe we were finally getting somewhere. But then he said he still thought I was overreacting about the bachelor party thing. He said his friends were just trying to help him. He said maybe I should think about their point of view. He said I shouldn't just be offended by it. He said they weren't trying to be mean, they were just worried if we are really a good match. I asked him straight out if he thought his friends were right about me being bossy and jealous. James waited for a long time before he answered. He said he thought there might be some truth to what they said, but he loves me anyway and wants to work through it. Loves me anyway. Like my bad personality points are something he has to deal with, not something he likes about me. Like he is doing me a favor by staying with me even though I'm not good enough. I told him that if he really thinks I'm bossy and jealous, then maybe we shouldn't get married at all. A marriage should be between two people who actually like each other, not between someone who thinks his partner has big personality problems that need to be fixed. James took back what he said. He said he didn't mean it like that. But then he started talking about how we could work on our talking. He said maybe we could go to couples counseling to fix some of these problems. He made it sound like going to therapy was something I needed to do. It was to prove I was willing to change my bossy behavior. The conversation got heated when I pointed out the real problem. The real problem isn't my personality. It's that he talks about our private life with his ex-girlfriend. He lets his friends vote on our relationship. James got frustrated. He said I was missing the point. He said the issue is how other people see us together, not just what we think about it ourselves. He kept saying that what other people think is valuable. He said maybe we are both too close to the situation to see it clearly. But I pointed out that his friends and Victoria are not on the outside looking in. They have their own opinions and their own plans. Those plans are not necessarily good for us. Then James said something that really made me angry. He said maybe the reason I don't want other people's ideas is because deep down, I know some of their criticisms are true. He said I was afraid to face my own behavior. I couldn't believe he was trying to turn this back on me. He was trying to make it seem like I was the one with the problem. I told him I'm not afraid of criticism. I'm angry that my fiancé thinks it's okay to let other people decide if I'm good enough for him. He should make that decision himself.
James said he did make that decision. He asked me to marry him, but he said that doesn't mean we shouldn't listen to feedback from people who care about us. He said marriages work best when both partners are willing to grow and change. They should listen to ideas from their community. But I pointed out that his community is mostly people who think I'm the problem. They are not people who want to help our relationship succeed. His friends voted he should break up with me. His ex-girlfriend thinks I'm difficult. That's not a supportive community. That's a group of people who don't want us to be together. Finally, I asked him directly what he wants for me. Does he want me to say sorry to Victoria? Does he want me to invite her to the wedding? Does he want me to sit with his friends and let them explain to me why I'm not good enough for him? James said he wants me to try to build relationships with the people who are important to him, even if it makes me feel bad. He said if I really love him, I should be willing to prove to his friends that their worries are not real. I shouldn't just be offended that they have worries in the first place. I told him I am not going to try out for his friends' approval. The fact that he thinks I should is a bigger bad sign than anything I have supposedly done wrong. Wednesday evening, I was at the grocery store getting food for dinner. I saw Deborah, James' mom. We have always gotten along well. She seemed happy to see me. She started talking about how much she is looking forward to the wedding. She asked about final details. But then she said James told her we were having some stress before the wedding. She hoped we were working through it okay. I tried to be vague. I just said wedding planning can be too much. But Deborah kept pushing for details. Finally, she said James mentioned I was having some concerns about his female friends. She wanted me to know she thinks it's important for married couples to keep their own friends. She said when she and James' dad got married, she had to learn to be okay with his female friends. She said it made their marriage stronger. I realized James had been talking to his mother about our relationship problems too. He probably made it sound like I was jealous of his friendships, not that he was having wrong conversations with his ex. Deborah clearly had no idea about the Victoria messages or the bachelor party vote. She just knew I was uncomfortable with James' female friends. Deborah went on to say she hoped I would give Victoria a chance. She said Victoria is such a sweet girl. She has been part of their friend group for a long time. She said Victoria has always been very respectful of James's relationships. She said she didn't think I had anything to worry about. I wanted to tell her about the text messages. I wanted to tell her how Victoria has been encouraging James to see me as difficult. But I didn't want to get into a fight with my future mother-in-law in the middle of the grocery store. Instead, I just said I appreciated her advice. I said James and I were working on our communication. But the whole talk made me realize something. James has been talking to everyone in his life about our relationship problems. His friends, his coworkers, his ex-girlfriend, and now his mother. In every case, he makes himself sound like the reasonable one, the one who is trying to deal with his difficult fiancé. When I got home and told James I saw his mother, he said it's normal to talk to your family about relationship problems. But I pointed out there is a difference. There is a difference between asking for advice and complaining about your partner to everyone who will listen. James said he is not complaining about me. He is trying to get perspective on how to handle a difficult situation. But I asked him why he never talks to me directly about these worries. Why does he discuss them with everyone else first? Why does Victoria get to hear about our problems before I do? Why do his friends get to vote on our relationship before we even talk about their worries? Thursday morning, I was supposed to have my final dress fitting, but I called and canceled. I honestly can't imagine walking down the aisle to marry someone who thinks his friends' opinions matter more than mine.
The whole thing feels like a dream, like I'm planning a wedding for a relationship that doesn't really exist. I keep thinking about what my dad said. He said, you should protect your partner from disrespect. James hasn't just failed to protect me from disrespect, he has actively taken part in it. He has encouraged his friends to criticize me. He has given his ex-girlfriend things to use to judge our relationship. He has made me sound like a problem to be solved, not a person to be loved. The wedding is 4 weeks away. I still don't know what I'm going to do. My sister Carly keeps texting me. She asks how things are going. I know if I give her the full story, she will tell me to run. My parents are waiting to hear if I want them to have that talk with James. And James is acting like everything is fine. He acts like we're just having normal nervousness before the wedding. And this is why I said he has no idea what is coming. I have been doing some thinking of my own. I realize that if James wants other people's ideas about our relationship so badly, maybe it's time he got some ideas he wasn't expecting. The question is if I am brave enough to do what I am planning, because once I do this, there is no going back. James is going to realize he seriously underestimated the woman he has been calling bossy and jealous. Wait for the next update. It is going to be a big one. Last update. Okay everyone, this is it. The moment you have all been waiting for. James thought he could let his friends vote on if I'm good enough for him. He thought he could share our private business with his ex? Well, he was about to find out exactly what kind of woman he has been calling bossy and jealous. First, I want to thank everyone who told me to stand my ground. Thank you for telling me not to let this man disrespect me. The comment about how I should give James the same energy he has been giving me really stuck with me. But what happened next was something I never could have predicted. Wednesday afternoon, my sister Carly was driving back from her dentist appointment. She decided to stop at the small shopping place near downtown. She wanted to get some things from Target. She was walking through the parking lot when she saw James's car. It was parked outside the flower shop. Carly thought maybe he was finally getting me flowers to say he was sorry for all the drama, so she decided to wait. She wanted to see if he wanted company or help picking something out. She parked a few spots away. She was about to get out of her car when James came out of the flower shop. He had a huge bouquet of red roses. She was actually happy for a second. She thought he was making a big, nice move to fix things between us. But then, he didn't get in his car and drive toward our apartment. James drove in the completely opposite direction. Carly got curious. She decided to follow him, because something felt wrong about the whole situation. Why would he buy me flowers and then drive away from where I live? She stayed a safe distance behind him as he drove for about 15 minutes across town. He drove to a park. The park has walking trails and an old amusement park area. That's when she saw her. Victoria was waiting on a bench near the carousel. She was wearing a cute little sundress. She looked like she was posing for a romantic movie. James walked up to her with those roses. My roses. The roses I thought were for me. He gave them to her like they were meeting for a date. Carly said she literally could not believe what she was seeing. James was supposed to be my fiancé, dealing with stress before the wedding, and here he was giving romantic flowers to his ex-girlfriend in a park. They looked like teenagers sneaking around. But it got so much worse. Victoria jumped up and threw her arms around James when she saw the flowers. They hugged for way longer than any normal friend hug. Then they sat down on that bench together. James had his arm around her shoulders. She was snuggled up next to him, looking at the roses and smelling them. Carly said they looked like a couple who'd been together for years, not like a guy who was supposed to be marrying someone else in 3 weeks. Victoria had her head on James' shoulder. They were talking very closely. James was stroking her hair. Victoria was touching his chest. At one point, Victoria looked up at James with a dreamy look on her face. She said something that made him laugh. He leaned down and kissed her forehead. Then she turned toward him more. They were face to face, just staring into each other's eyes, like something from a romance book. My sister recorded all of this on her phone. She got clear video of James giving Victoria the roses, video of them sitting together all cuddled up, video of him stroking her hair, the forehead kiss, all of it. The video clearly shows James being loving and romantic with his ex-girlfriend while he is engaged to me. Carly said she sat there for almost an hour watching them act like a couple. They got up and walked around the park holding hands. They went on the carousel together, laughing and playing. Then they went back to their bench to sit close together some more. When Carly finally drove home, she was shaking. She was so angry. She called me right away and told me everything. And I honestly didn't believe her at first. I thought maybe she was mistaken about what she saw, or that there was an innocent explanation. But then she showed me the video, and I just lost it. I got extremely angry. There was my fiancé, the man who had been telling me I was jealous and bossy for not wanting his ex at our wedding. He was literally having what looked like a romantic date with that same ex-girlfriend. He was buying her flowers, cuddling with her, acting like they were together. All those months of James telling me Victoria was just a friend, that I was being paranoid about their relationship, that I needed to trust him and stop being so insecure. Meanwhile, he was meeting her in secret and treating her like his girlfriend. I was so angry I could barely think straight. So, I decided to go through with my original plan for the family meeting, but now I had clear proof. Friday evening, I texted James. I told him I wanted to have that serious conversation about our future. I said some important people in our lives should be there for support and perspective. I suggested we meet at the community center near our apartment. It has meeting rooms you can reserve. James was actually excited about this. He thought I was finally agreeing to his stupid idea, the idea about getting his friends involved to work things out. He asked if he should invite Tommy and a couple of the other guys. I said sure, the more perspectives the better. He was so pleased with himself. He thought he was finally getting me to see reason. But James had no idea what was coming. I got to the community center early. I set up in one of the larger meeting rooms. James showed up with Tommy and 2 other guys from his bachelor party group. They all looked very confident, like they were about to have some kind of intervention. They were going to explain to me why I needed to change my behavior. But then my backup arrived. My parents walked in, then Carly, then my Uncle Edward. James' face went completely white when he realized this was not going to be the conversation he was expecting. I started the meeting. I thanked everyone for coming to talk about James and my relationship. I said that since James values other people's opinions so much, I thought we should get some different viewpoints. He thinks it's important for other people to weigh in on if we are a good match. Then I asked James to explain to my family what happened at his bachelor party. I wanted him to tell my parents how his friends took a vote. They voted on if he should break up with me. The reason was because I wouldn't invite his ex-girlfriend to our wedding. James started stammering. He tried to make it sound like a small thing, but Tommy actually defended it. He said they were just being honest about their worries because they care about James' happiness. That's when my mom opened her folder. She started reading parts of the text messages between James and Victoria. When I first found those messages on James's phone, I took pictures of everything. I wanted to have proof. I had shared all the pictures with my family. They needed to know exactly what we were dealing with. She read the parts where Victoria called me difficult. She read the parts where James complained about our private relationship details. And that's when James completely exploded. He jumped up from his chair and started screaming. He said I broke his privacy. He said going through his phone was crazy behavior. He was yelling about how I was trying to manipulate everyone. He said I was taking his messages out of context to make him look bad. But then James said something that made my blood run cold. He looked directly at my parents. He started to claim that the reason I was so paranoid about Victoria was because I had been cheating on him. He said I was putting my own guilt on him. He said that's why I was so suspicious of his friendships. James kept going. He got louder and more desperate. He started telling my family I had been acting strange for months. I was being secretive about my phone. I was working late more often. He said he suspected I was seeing someone else. He said the whole Victoria thing was just me trying to take attention away from my own affair. Tommy jumped in to support this lie. He said James had told them about his worries. He said they had all noticed changes in my behavior. The other guys started nodding along. They claimed they had seen me being flirty with other guys when we all hung out together. My sister Carly lost her mind. She started screaming at James. She called him a pathetic liar. She said how dare he make up disgusting lies to cover for his own terrible behavior. My dad stood up. His voice was shaking with rage. He told James he had 30 seconds to take back what he just said. If he didn't, this conversation would turn into something much worse. My Uncle Edward was trying to calm everyone down, but you could see he was furious too. But James wouldn't back down. He kept insisting I was cheating. He said everyone needed to know the truth about who I really am. He said I was a manipulative liar. I was trying to turn everyone against him to cover up my own cheating. That's when Deborah, James' mother, showed up. Apparently, James had texted her when he realized this wasn't going the way he planned. She came rushing over to defend her precious son. She walked into this complete chaos. Everyone was screaming at each other. She immediately started attacking my family. Deborah started yelling at my parents. She said they raised a daughter who goes through other people's phones. She said I staged public humiliation. She said I was clearly unstable. She said James deserved better than someone who would pull a stunt like this. My mom stood up and told Deborah that her son was a cheater and a liar. He had been cheating with his ex-girlfriend for months. Deborah screamed back that Victoria was just a friend. She said I was too jealous and insecure to handle normal relationships. The whole room was in complete chaos. Both families were screaming at each other. Deborah was going off about how her son would never cheat. She said I was obviously the one with problems if I couldn't trust normal friendships. She said Victoria has always been respectful of James's relationships. She said I was just looking for excuses to cause drama. James started getting even more aggressive. He said he had been patient with my jealous behavior for too long. He said maybe his friends were right about me being too bossy for marriage. He said normal women don't go through their partner's phones. They don't stage family confrontations. That's when I finally stood up and pulled out my phone. I told everyone to shut up and watch what I was about to show them. I turned the volume all the way up. I hit play on Carly's video. Everyone watched James hand a huge bouquet of roses to Victoria at the park. You could hear Carly talking as she filmed him hugging Victoria. You could see him sitting with his arm around her, stroking her hair, kissing her forehead. Deborah's face went completely pale as she watched her son act like a boyfriend with his ex-girlfriend. You could see Victoria looking up at James lovingly. You could see James being tender and romantic with her while he is supposed to be planning a wedding with me. The video was crystal clear. This wasn't just friends hanging out. This was a romantic date between two people who are clearly involved with each other. James tried to grab my phone and delete the video, but my dad blocked him. James was screaming that it wasn't what it looked like. He was just consoling Victoria because she was going through a hard time. He said it was innocent, but Deborah was staring at the video. You could see her whole world crashing down. She asked James when this happened. She asked why he bought flowers for another woman. She asked why he was touching Victoria like that if they were just friends. James started making up more lies. He said Victoria had been having family problems and needed a friend. He said the flowers were just to cheer her up. He said I was taking everything out of context. James was getting more and more desperate. He went back and forth between saying the video was misleading and trying to turn it back on me for having Carly follow him. He said I was stalking him and breaking his privacy. He said this proved how controlling and crazy I really am. But my Uncle Edward pointed out that James was the one who got caught red-handed. He was having a romantic meeting with his ex-girlfriend. Trying to blame me for discovering it was just more manipulation. I pulled off my engagement ring and threw it at James. I told him he could keep making up stories about me, but everyone in this room had just watched him cheating on me with Victoria. He was the one who called me paranoid for being suspicious of their relationship. Deborah was crying and apologizing to my parents. She said she had no idea James had been lying about Victoria. My mom was yelling at James about what a disgusting liar he is. He made up cheating accusations when he is the one who was actually cheating. As we were leaving, James was still screaming that I had set him up. He said having me followed proved how unstable I am. But Carly turned around and told him something. She said she happened to see him by accident. She said if he didn't want to get caught cheating, maybe he shouldn't cheat in public places. The aftermath has been absolutely wild. James has been blowing up my phone. He goes back and forth between apologizing and claiming his relationship with Victoria isn't what it looks like. He keeps saying that if I would just let him explain, I would understand. He says they are just friends going through a difficult time. But here's the crazy part. Victoria has been posting photos on social media of the roses James gave her. She is literally showing off their relationship while James is trying to convince me it was innocent. I dodged the biggest bullet of my life. A man who would cheat with his ex while we are planning our wedding is not someone I could ever trust. Then he made up accusations about me cheating when he was confronted. James thought he was so smart. He let his friends vote on our relationship while secretly dating Victoria on the side. But he had no idea his lies would catch up to him in such a spectacular way. I'm single, and I have never felt more free.